In tonight's 360 Perspective, we are diving into marijuana and specifically pot businesses struggling with banking. Right now, marijuana is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but banks and credit unions cannot legally do business with cannabis companies. It's basically considered money laundering if they do because cannabis is a federally controlled substance. A law moving through Congress could change that. Banks do have some guidance and oversight when it comes to working with legitimate marijuana businesses from a 2014 memo from the Treasury Department, but they're not protected from criminal liability. As a result, cannabis businesses are mostly cash, and the fact that it's a $1.5 billion industry in our state alone has some calling it a safety issue. After 6 years of work, Democratic Congressman Ed Perlmutter from Arvada got the Secure and Fair Enforcement, or SAFE Banking Act, heard and passed by the House. It would provide permanent federal protection to banks and financial institutions. They could provide loans, open lines of credit, bank accounts, and other services to legitimate cannabis businesses. The law would also clarify things for the hemp industry in banking after hemp was legalized by the Farm Bill in 2018. Now, the Colorado Bankers Association says in our state, as many as 35 banks and credit unions are already offering services to pot businesses. Most of the institutions are secretive about these relationships at this point. They limit the number of customers they'll take on. They ask them to sign non-disclosure agreements. It also means there's a wait list of pot industry customers. Nationwide, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network says at last count, more than 550 banks and 160 credit unions are servicing the industry. That's a jump of 61% from a year ago. And it's believed banks are trying to get into the game early, with the legal marijuana market expected to reach $41 billion by 2025. We spoke with a couple of marijuana shops in Pueblo. One said they have a relationship with a bank, but the fees are really high. They hope the bill would drive competition and lower those fees. Another said if you own a marijuana business, it's hard to get banking for your other businesses. And passage of the law would mean the industry could move money across state lines, creating more opportunities for businesses and investors.
In the end, we want to encourage growth of industry. We want to encourage growing jobs. And if you can't get capital to increase your business or develop your business, it really hinders your ability to hire more people and put more money and fuel your local economy, your state economy, and your federal economy.
Republican Senator Cory Gardner, one of the measure's lead sponsors, he testified in the first Senate banking hearing on this issue.
Keeping those dollars out of banks means we lose the ability to trace where the dollars go. It also means that it's harder to ensure that all taxes are being paid. It makes it easier for criminals in the illicit market to pose as legitimate. And it leaves hundreds of millions of dollars in cash in the state.
Gardner says Congress needs to take its head out of the sand. 95% of the population living in a state with laws offering some form of marijuana.
That means that all of the different parts of our economy that connect to any legitimate business, plumbers, electricians, lawyers, accountants, landlords, etc., risk becoming federal criminals for serving a client legal under a Colorado law. That also means that the $1.5 billion industry a year in Colorado is nearly all cash.
The SAFE Banking Law passed the House with broad bipartisan support. It needs to pass the Senate, and it would be signed into law by President Donald Trump if that happened then. Perlmutter says he expects the Senate to vote on the bill over the next 2 to 3 months and become law the next 3 to 6. We'll keep you posted. If you have an idea for a future 360 Perspective, email 360@koaa.com.